Okay, hello Caroline, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thanks. It's nice meeting you.
First of all, where were you born?
Well, I was born in Sheffield, which is a town in the north of England. It's in size, it's the fifth city in England, and it used to be a very, very industrial city because it manufactured steel, but now it's suffering the consequences of economic depression. But recently they have has a lot of new life in the city because there are lots of new universities, lots of student life, and they try to give the city a facelift. But there's a lot of atmosphere. But it's my city, so I love it.
Could you tell me something interesting about your town or city?
Interesting. Well, I think the most interesting thing about Sheffield is the fact that there's a very good theatre. We have the City Hall where we have concerts, and we have lots of nice shops, and there's quite a lot of life despite the economic recession.
Okay, thank you. When did you come here?
I came here in 1970, so I've been here for about 41 years, and I came here to get married to a Catalan.
And do you like Barcelona?
Yes, I love Barcelona. I don't think that I could live without Barcelona now, because I come from a very small village on the outskirts of Sheffield, and when I go home to England, I miss Barcelona because it has a lot of life.
Which kind of job would you like to do now?
Well, at the moment I teach English, of course, but if I could choose again, I think I would like to be an anthropologist or an archaeologist or a historian, but it's too late now. I'm too old.
Okay. What do you do in your free time?
In my free time, well, as most of my students know, in the summer I like to go far away on expeditions into the jungle and strange places and visit strange tribes and see unusual animals. That for me is the most exciting part of the year. And apart from that, I like reading and walking in the countryside and watching films that I specifically think I'm going to enjoy because I don't like television. And then, of course, I have my family, so in my free time I spend a lot of time with my family.
Okay. Why did you decide to be a teacher and when?
I didn't decide to be a teacher. In fact, I never wanted to be a teacher. It happened just by chance. Because I came to Spain when I was young. I just finished university, and at that moment I needed a job urgently, and there was nothing really for me to do except teach English, which was not in great demand at that time. But as the demand grew, I had more and more work, and I've grown to love it, so that's why now I teach English.
What did you study at the university?
Well, at university I studied English and French. I got a degree in both English and French. But with hindsight, I should have graduated in history. But anyway, it's too late now for that. But I think that my real vocation in life would have been to study history and to do something with that.
And did you like studying English and French?
Well, yes, I loved being at university. I loved living on a campus. The atmosphere was fantastic. And obviously, English and French have proved to be very useful in my life, especially when I travel. I can use my French because I speak it quite fluently. And English, of course, has been useful as a means of making money and having a job and surviving.
Okay. What do you think about the education here?
I think that one of the problems with education in Spain is that they do not encourage students to learn English at school from a very early age, as they do in many other countries, where the language is practically the second language. And if you go to places like Greece or Germany or Scandinavia, people speak English fluently, whereas here the people are still very behind when it comes to speaking this language, and I think that's a mistake nowadays.
Okay. Do you like speaking Spanish or Catalan?
Well, I learned Spanish, Castilian when I first came to Spain, because frankly speaking, I didn't realize there were two languages. So it came as quite a shock to be confronted by two different languages at the same time. So I began speaking Castilian first of all, because for me it was much easier, with the result that now I am in the habit of speaking Castilian, but Catalan I understand perfectly, I read it. If you push me, then I can speak it, but I understand people perfectly.
Okay. What did you find most difficult when it comes to learning those languages?
Well, Spanish, Castilian is not a difficult language to learn, because the syntax is not difficult. But Catalan is much more complicated.
Okay.
And of course, I think that for foreigners, it's easier to speak Castilian and to write and read Castilian than to read and write Catalan, which is grammatically speaking much more difficult.
Okay. Do you like teaching English?
Well, yes, I like teaching English. It's quite repetitive, but the wonderful thing about teaching English is that you meet a lot of wonderful students.
Please, Caroline, could you tell me a funny story about your English classes?
Well, funny stories, it's very difficult to remember determined anecdotes, but I think the funny thing about teaching English is the words the students use, because sometimes they get the words mixed up because they can't pronounce them properly, or they don't write them properly. So, for example, sometimes you get people writing shit instead of sheet, or ship instead of sheep, and this can be very, very amusing in context.
Okay. Thank you, Caroline.
It's a pleasure.